Hello and welcome everyone to another special, this time the 808 subscriber special, and just as the name suggests, I'm gonna be talking about 808 and show you a unique approach to those as well. So this is going to be a sound design video. The goal of the following recipe is to create an 808 sound that has a unique character and feels kinda three-dimensional without adding reverb or something like that, where each pitch has a slightly different tonal quality that still kind of makes sense for some reason, and also to make a sound that just works perfectly together with the sound of the kick itself. And in order to do that, I will solve a problem that just exists in 808s a lot, which is how do you make these to fit each other, the bassline part and the kick part, when you're designing them from scratch. Well, my solution to that is the following thing. First of all, you have to select the kick. Let's just take this one. Then you can apply an effect chain or something of choice. Make sure that whatever note you press, it is always the same pitch. Okay, now I have a kick drum sound that I quite like. And I can just write some notes. Now that you have written some notes, the interesting part is starting, where you can separate the signal into two layers. And the first layer is the transient part of the signal, and the second layer is the tonal part of the signal. Well, you already have a transient part, so you can just leave that empty for now. And for the tonal part, you can now use a Keytracked bandpass filter like Rift Filter Lite. If you set it to bandpass, turn up the resonance and set it to MIDI input. Also put the cutoff to 0, then it will follow whatever MIDI note you're playing. Now that obviously sounds a bit over the top, so we are following it by a saturator or any saturation plugin. As you can see, I have now added another instance of Rift Filter Lite so that I can play different melodies and that they are spread out a little bit more in length. You have to be a little bit careful with how much you bandpass filtered resonance you give that thing, and also how you tweak the saturator. The goal is to find a compromise between a hard-hitting sound and one that just blasts off your ears, and you can see that this is kind of a fragile way to make an 808. Some people might wonder why you would want to do that, because it's like less straightforward and arguably more complicated to accomplish and get right. But I would say that it's not only a very satisfying way to do these kind of things, but also results in a unique sound that when it's actually done, it has more of a three-dimensional character than a normal 808. And that's why it could be something considered more futuristic and not so simple-minded like most 808s nowadays. So now the next step is to actually add a little bit of feedback, because this thing makes it even easier to lengthen the 808 sound. Okay, so now we have a very long sound that also sounds pretty good. But on the higher notes, it gets a bit too loud. So what we could do is follow it with the saturator again. So now we have a sound that I would consider sounding pretty good. So this is what it looks like now. We can clearly see this is the kicky part of it and this is the bass part of it. Now we could try to meld these sounds together a bit more because we have a little bit of a drop in volume here, which does sound musical, but maybe we could make it even better by just putting something behind both the transient and the tonal part, like a saturator. Yeah, now it sounds a bit more consistent. Now, that is a pretty good sound, but you might be wondering, what can you do with that? Why does it give you a different workflow than other ways of creating an 808 kick sound? One of the things that I like particularly about this is that it sounds very different on different pitches. You can probably already hear that. If you did the same thing with just a pitched kick sample, then it would sound much different. Now you can do something like that. Now, as you can see, the sound that is resulting from that really has something organic to it. It's like not the typical 808 sound, and if you now went on and transposed this thing, you would get a whole different flavor again. I think I like this even more. So you can really explore the sound and not just pitch something around and get a slightly different version of the same sound character. I find that pretty cool. So now let me make the rest of the beat really quickly. If you are still not convinced that this technique is the future of making 808s, then let me show you one other twist to this entire thing, which is that you can just replace the initial sample that you used for the entire thing with a different sample, and it will give you a completely new character for both the kick. Try something very drastic, some really punchy electro drums like this one. Will it even fit to trap at all? Actually, pretty much, yes. I like that even more than the initial sound that I used for this. So yeah, let's just for fun try another sound and just see what happens. I'm actually not sure myself, so we try to do that same thing with toms. So we have a very natural sounding tom here. So now we have this very interesting situation in which the, let's say, transient part or the original input audio doesn't have enough low-end energy to really create something for those lower notes. It only really comes up with the higher notes. So I have an idea for this thing now, which is actually getting rid of the layer part, basically only playing with the tonal part in here. So we can actually outsource all this stuff out of the layer, throw away the layer. A bit of vibrato. As you can see now, I created an entire atmosphere without even using a pad. So that's how far you can go when you create your 808s this way. And that's why I think that this is a pretty cool way to create 808s. Okay, I hope you all had a lot of fun and maybe even learned something. See you next time around when I have something to say.